Welcome to One More Thing, a podcast like no other. I'm Kyle Thompson, coach, speaker, and turnaround artist, driven by enthusiasm and fueled by passion in everything I do.
And I'm Tori Barker, creative engineer and marketing guru. You're about to experience a podcast that will challenge you to think, reflect, laugh, and grow.
Come along with us as we share stories that will inspire you to be the best version of you.
It's all about embracing change and the power of transformation.
Know we believe in you. We've got your back. You've got this.
All that we ask of you is to show up with an open mind and an enthusiastic heart.
So sit down, buckle up, and hold on. Hey, greetings Facebook Live fans, friends, and family. We are so excited to be here today. And more importantly, this was kind of an exciting interview, maybe for Tori. For me, it has historical implications. Meaning?
Yeah.
Yes. My older brother Lance is here. He's in town. Lance Thompson's in the house. And Mama Thompson is
Trying to reconnect.
she's here to keep an eye on us, and she's trying to reconnect. Anyway, guys, we're going to have a really fun-filled interview with Lance, and gosh knows it could be anything. Poor Tori is, like we just said, hold on.
Yeah.
But I brought him here for a whole host of reasons, but more importantly, I wanted him to introduce himself today, if he could or would. So, Lance, for those that don't know you.
Well, my name is Lance Thompson. I'm Kyle's sister, Kyle's brother. I always get that wrong. I live in Boise. I've I've worked in motion picture advertising for a long time. I'm currently a script doctor and actor, and I saw that there was a chance for free publicity, so I told my sister, get me on that show.
Jump on board. I know the people.
Well, I don't know how much of a following we have yet.
This will kill it.
Quite something. Well, hey, here's the deal. So Lance was brought in here because part of what we always talk about is transformation and change. And Lance has really kind of almost, not necessarily rediscovered, but tapped into act. And although we all knew that probably going into this as Thompsons and having watched him growing up and the characters that he would embody and sometimes bring out of the, I don't know, we had no idea what we would exactly the woodworks. Lance is now doing that and pursuing that. And I think a lot of times where we are in our life, we think, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to settle in and I'm good to go for the rest of the route. But not Lance. He took it up another gear and notch. And now he's doing and pursuing exactly what is best and represents him. And I just could not be more excited for him to share that story. But
She's right. I worked in motion picture advertising for a long time in Los Angeles, and then after a while, our daughter finished elementary school, and all her friends were in the movie business and stuff. So we thought maybe we should get her someplace where she can grow up sort of more normally. So we brought her up to Boise, Idaho, which I'd seen a long time ago on a craft trip with my dad and my brother, and we said, "Well, this is going to be a tough sell." After living in LA, and we were there for a couple of days. I said, "Well, what do you think?" And she said, "I love it here." We said, "Well, you do?" And she said, "Yeah, I hate LA." And we said, "Well, you never told us." And she said, "Well, I never knew I had a choice." So she signed on right away, and she went up there and flourished, and
yeah.
So do we. We Boise's I tell everybody when they say, "What's Idaho like?" I say it's kind of like fantasy camp for life. So, fantasy camp, so you can have a rock and roll fantasy camp or a baseball fantasy camp where you can kind of do all the stuff you always wanted to do without any red tape or any boundaries or anything like that. Idaho is like that.
Yeah.
So there's all these things I wanted to do. I wanted to work on a political campaign. I wanted to act. I wanted to write. Anything you want to do, in Idaho, you just say, I'm going to do this, and then you do it.
Wow.
And there's not a problem. So now you've got this huge availability of options. And one of the things that my wife and I did when we first got there was we worked as actors for a place called POST, Peace Officer Standards and Training. And they do live scenarios to train police officers and corrections officers and things like that. And so we started acting, which we had never done. We'd both been in the film business for 30 years, and we'd never acted before. So we said, okay, we better try that. And that led to all these other opportunities to do stage, things on stage and do things on local television, and eventually small parts in small parts in short films, or big parts, or
Big parts in short films?
big parts in short films.
That's right.
And so now I'm doing that, which is really great. We have a very active film community in Boise and Idaho, and doing script doctor work, which is kind of being an editor for movie scripts. And I have clients like that all over the country, and it's just really easy. I tell my brother calls. He said, "What's it like?" And I said, "It's like I feel like I just walked out of the cornfield and everything's fine. It's really great."
Lance told me once that Boise reminded him of Sacramento when our family moved to Sacramento in 1969. And I thought it was really important because we get so many people who have the point at which they think they've hit the wall and they don't have any other gas left. Lance and Pam and his family, Kearney, daughter who now lives back in LA, actually took it upon themselves to venture forth, head out, just took it and said, we're going to make this work. And they've created now this whole other life. So who he was in Los Angeles is not even representative of who you are in Idaho, right? So you kind of rediscovered and launched forward.
No one knows who I am.
And I don't either.
Good thing.
What happens in LA stays in LA.
That's right.
So Lance, talk a little bit about, for people who might be watching who say, you know what, I need something else. I need something that gets my juices going. And I think that might be the place. I need a new environment, a new, maybe I shouldn't. What would you say to them?
Well, I think you can do that. And it's easier to do it in Idaho, but we've already have too many people there now. So,
don't come.
Start where you are.
Start where you are.
Do what you want to do. I mean, you probably know these things. You probably have things that you want to do. You've always wanted to do, right? Go ahead and do it. It's just started. Nothing grows in your comfort zone, right? You got to go a little bit outside of that, and that's when you're doing things that you haven't done before. All that excitement and energy and passion that you have every time you try something new is there. So draw on that whatever stage you are now. Pick out what you want to do and try it. Do it. It's not.
How did you arrive at Idaho? Because I think that you did a little bit of research and legwork on that, right?
We around 2004 there was an article in Wall Street Journal by a Wall Street Journal writer who lived in Idaho, and she was talking about they've got opera and they've got ballet and they've got Shakespeare and they've got a symphony and they've got things, a green belt that goes all through the town along the riverbank. Just amazing stuff. So I'm showing my wife, Pam. I said, what do you think? She said, well, but it really is an amazing place. And she said, what are we going to do? Because we both work in the film. She works in animation and visual effects, and I was a writer. And I said, well, we'll do whatever they do there. We'll be lumberjacks or fur trappers.
Fur trappers.
Work on your.
There's a niche for it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not. There's no in Idaho. There's no barrier. It's not like that. You'll never be able to do that. Or why can you do that? Or you've got to fill out no stigma and also no government regulation to do. You've got to get this license and this fee and you've got to put in this form. You just do it. You just do it.
You just build a house.
Build a house. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a great story. Wasn't there a great story, Lance, where you were telling me about the building department consisted of like a trailer or something like that? So tell that story where somebody had come in to talk to somebody about...
when I first moved over, and I came out one day and he said, I paid your property taxes. I said, oh, thanks. I thought he was kidding.
Yeah.
But then we didn't get a property tax bill. I said, well, I guess he was serious.
Yeah.
So I went over there and said,
hey,
what is it? He said, yeah, they sent me your property tax bill. And I paid it, but I didn't realize. He said it really went up. It was doubled. So I'm thinking, I got to go down to the, imagine in California.
Yeah,
I got to go down to the state tax commission.
It's accruing interest as you're talking about.
Yes. So I go down there and we got a big city hall in Boise and everything. And so I go in and you follow all the directions to the tax place. And you go in, it's a huge, it's like a hall of records or something like that, and all these different opening windows, tellers,
right,
12 on each side, huge, marble. It goes on forever, like the what do you call it, the perspective,
yes,
and there's nobody there. I'm going, oh jeez, they're closed on a Tuesday.
Yeah, what the heck?
What is this?
They're building a house.
They're building a house. Or doing their opera.
Yeah.
So I see a teller down there, and I walk down. I said, "Are you open?" She's, come over.
Please, people.
So I come in, and there's nobody in line. It's not a take a number. There's nobody in line. And I said, well, I got this thing to explain that somebody else has paid your property. You imagine how long that is.
Yeah.
I said, this is going to sound weird, but da-da-da-da-da. And she says, that's really interesting. Sarah, come over here. Have you ever seen anything like this? So another person who's not, because there's nobody there, has nothing to do. Oh, yeah, let me see. Oh, wow. Fred's going to say, he's our supervisor. I got to go. Oh, God. So pretty soon there's like 4 people working on this thing. Oh, let me do something. Oh, I'll check that out. It's all sorted out in like 5 minutes. The whole thing. And then
amazing.
Yes, that's how things work there.
Wow.
So
what was the story though that somebody had talked about that they had come in either for a permit to build something, and the very first question the person asked was, oh, you must be from California, or made the statement, you must be from California. And it might have been somebody else, but in essence, the story goes that a lot of people who naturally are going through rules, regulations, restrictions, and all of that are coming from the state. Nonetheless, I was also going to ask you, Lance, if you look back on this, is there anything that you would have done differently? And in addition to it, as you're looking at it, any big surprises with what you did and making this venture?
It was easier than I thought, easier to start, because we didn't know anybody when we moved there, except our real estate agent and the guy who built our house.
There you go, back to the building the house.
But it's just really, everything was easy. Everything was just, there's no resistance.
Question, because I kind of want to back up a little bit more. How did you make the decision to move to LA?
That was easy because I went to UCLA for film school, and then I got a job right out of film school.
Because you guys grew up around this area, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went.
Well, here's the thing. He is. He won't boast or brag, but I'll brag on him. Lance, motion picture advertising was in fact a major at UCLA, correct?
Well, no. Motion picture television was. Motion picture advertising. My screenwriting professor had a friend who wrote copy. His partner, his girlfriend, was the one who wrote Just When You Thought It Was Safe to Go Back in the Water for Jaws 2, which I always thought was, I got to meet that person and then work for her, So I said, wow, this is really great. And I always loved that stuff. So that was my first job and kind of, I guess, my only job in LA.
Well, and people would always ask me, that's an actual job? I mean, that just sounds amazing that you think of these, but am I not mistaken? You were the alien person. In space, no one can hear you scream?
No, we ripped that off, though.
I love that. So now, I went to the premiere. Lance invited me to the premiere, and it was so funny because we're watching the film, and they're running the credits, and these people are clapping, and I kept thinking, is it over? People are standing up in the theater, but of course, keep in mind, that was virtual unknowns, right? Yeah. Nobody knew Sigourney Weaver. Nobody knew. I mean, Tom Skerritt was probably the biggest name, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me what you ripped off now.
So right after
Burst
that,
my bubble.
To show you how original people in the motion picture television or motion picture advertising business are, whatever big movie there was. So we had one called Death Valley, which was the guy from American Graffiti who was the hot rod guy.
Oh, John Milner?
John
that
Milner,
guy?
whoever that was.
That guy. I'm trying to think. He's got 3 names or something.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll get it.
But him, and then this blonde girl who did a couple of she was in the Marilyn Monroe story. But anyways, cheap horror movie from Universal. Yeah. And they said, now we need a line like "No one can hear you scream" like Alien. And it's just this family that's lost in the desert. It's nothing to do with Alien. So the line that I ripping escapes.
Oh
my God! That's so good.
Yes.
So
Bravo.
you just keep
You just keep regurgitating another line in some other way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Did you do prom night? Are you going to
prom night? Yes.
Yes.
Prom
Okay.
night
So prom night was what?
Prom night was the second Jamie Lee Curtis scary movie after Halloween. So she was an established.
She was a scream queen.
And it was also one of the last movies that Leslie Nielsen played where it wasn't a comedy. He was her dad.
I love him.
So and it was just a cheap thing about the guy who didn't get to go to prom. So that line was
true story.
Based on a true story.
You know who you are.
and watch it because he remembers. If you're not back by midnight, you won't be coming home.
There we go.
And so that was my first line to be on a poster. So I was driving to work one day and I go, there's my line. Pulled over and taking pictures and everything.
And you had that. I remember that being a poster at your apartment, and it was crazy because the light would come in, you know, like the hall light, and all you could see was this knife, like dagger, come in and go, oh my God, what in the world?
But it's somewhere. It's in the garage somewhere.
Well, you know, and I grew up, my memories of Lance were growing up, and Lance would be on the typewriter, and many of you kids don't know what a typewriter is, but I would hear the clickety-clack on his keys, and then he would have, I can almost identify virtually any soundtrack, because Jaws would be playing, James Bond, all of that I would hear, and Lance would be typing away, and then Lance also made films when we were younger, and so that kind of launched, I mean, the fact that he represents that little part of the world that knew exactly what they wanted to do, and you watched it grow, is amazing. Yeah. So I love that he said no barriers when we were talking about that in Idaho. Do you think those are a lot of times self-imposed?
Absolutely.
Lance?
Yeah.
So
because it's much easier to have inertia and just stay on the one path. Yeah. But you're always thinking, well, what if I did this, or what if I hadn't done that, or what if I made this choice instead of that choice? Try it out and see.
Yeah. And Idaho presented it for you. Because there's a lot of people that are contemplating moves, cross-country adventures. I mean, I'm 57. Yeah. Lance is my older brother, but 57 years old. So we're at this age. Just a few months. I think we're still trying to discover if I'm the older one or he's the older one. But nonetheless, I mean, that's typically a time, like I said, where people settle in. But by and large, our generation is one of those generations that's kind of taking this on. Yeah. So you're seeing a lot of people coming up from California, right? Yeah. Is that why you're telling them to stay?
Yeah. Well, not that we have anything against Californians, but there's a lot. When we first moved there, people would say, "Oh, there's always like a." Now it's not stopping. We just get lots and lots and lots of people, not just from California, from all over.
So Meridian represents the area that you live, suburban area that you live. So where is the growth in Idaho?
The Treasure Valley is Boise, Meridian, Eagle, Nampa, not Napa. Nampa. But it's just maybe 1 million now. Wow. And that's the greatest population in Idaho is concentrated there.
And when you were there, when you first got there, what was the population? Do you happen to remember?
No.
But 1 million now.
Probably half. It's probably doubled since we've been there.
Extraordinary. Well, I think as people contemplate this, that's one of the reasons we wanted Lance to touch upon that, but also the second act. And I just wonder, you said that you always wanted to act, but when did that come about? I mean,
I never thought I would, but the working at Post was one of the things that did it, and then we did some musical comedies. One of the guys there had a musical comedy theater, which did all these weird things, and the first one was a parody with Harry Potter. Oh. So it's called Harry Potter. It's a Wonderful Harry Potter Life, or I can't remember what it was, but it also had songs, and I'm going, well, but they needed somebody to do Jimmy Stewart.
Oh my God.
So Dad said, oh, he can do that. So, but then you have to sing, and I said, well, I can't sing. And they said, oh, that's all right. Well, just what key do you like? And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know.
The keys to a car.
Keys to a car, yeah. So,
the key.
Yeah. But this isn't that hard.
Well, and you dipped your toe in the water by doing Post. And then Post, is that what you're saying, kind of propelled you to the next step? And then now the movie opportunities, because there are a lot of independent people up there who have come from Los Angeles who have those pursuits, because you do the Script Doctor stuff too. So how did you get that opportunity?
Script Doctor, I started in LA when I worked on The Two Jakes, which was a sequel to Chinatown. And then I thought, wow, this is really fun because it's already done. Yeah. It's going to be a movie. You're going to get paid because they've already produced it. So, wow. Yeah. One of them was I was at a book awards thing that my wife was the MC for. And I sat at this table in the front, and one of the other guys there, his wife was getting a book award. And we said, what do you do? And I said, I'm a script doctor. He said, that's funny. I know somebody who needs a script doctor.
Oh, my gosh.
His friend was a sports writer back in Atlanta who had just written this great TV series about being a scout, a talent scout for high school athletes.
Oh, wow.
To represent colleges.
Yeah.
And he had done that, and I don't want to say too much about it because I don't know if he's actually going to do it, but it was a great script. He's actually been in that world. It was really fascinating, and especially for me, I don't know anything about sports. Incredible writer. So I worked with him, and then it just kind of, people hear about it. You see the LinkedIn page or something, and they say, "Oh, I need one of those."
And then in turn, you hold classes as well for that, for screenwriting and storytelling, because we were talking about this at lunch, the storytelling aspect.
Yeah.
An extraordinary storyteller, but you have this infusion of people who naturally have an interest in supportive states for making films and writing and all of that. Is that what you're finding?
Well, yeah, you remember when we were in high school making those Super 8 movies.
Oh, the Super 8's awesome.
It's not that
jumping off the 2-story house. Yeah,
well, it's not that much different now. Well, the technology's better.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but it's very
opportunity.
It's very much like
and organic, and you can do it.
Yeah, and in Idaho, I mean, our daughter is in Kearney, who's in Los Angeles. She does production design, and she said if people knew how easy it was to film movies in Idaho, they'd all be doing it here.
Wow.
This group, that one of the first ones she worked on was a short film about a murder thing.
Yeah.
And so, like in LA, you'd have to get permits. You'd have to talk to the police. You'd have to rent a space. You'd have to get people to
EPA report.
Yeah.
Shut down the street.
Yeah, and everything. Yes, it's like a big deal.
Yeah.
So in Idaho, they call up the police department and say, "Oh, we're going to be shooting a chase scene and a gunfight in the alley on this day." And they said, "Oh, okay. Do you need anything?" And they said, "Well, we could sure use a police car." I said, "You got it. We'll have one there." So the Boise PD provided a police car. So it's I mean, we never got that.
Wow. Well, I digress as well. Do you mind telling the story of the movie? Was it the Treasury that they were? Is that okay? Would you mind sharing that? So Lance has lots of stories, but this is one of my absolute all-time favorite stories when he was filming when he was younger. So please tell that story.
We were in college age, and we were filming, that was a TV show.
Paul Michael Glazer. See, that's another 3, but the guy's name was Paul, by the way, that I'm thinking of on first.
Paul Lamont.
There we go.
Paul Lamont.
See?
We'll
get it.
So it's we're doing it, and you're doing it on Super 8, so it's like 3 minutes of film, and then you have to stop and everything. So we went downtown Sacramento to the K Street Mall early on a Sunday. So we thought, well, there's nobody here except winos. I mean, who's going to be there? Yeah. So it's a great time to be people running around chasing each other with guns. And we had realistic looking guns, replica guns. And because this was the 70s?
Yes, it was the 70s.
So it was, who cares?
With a 19 in front of it, 1970s.
That's right. Mid-century. What do they call it? Mid-century. So we're doing this, and we're running around, and Ralph is it's like a small crew. You just have a camera and then the stuff. So he goes around the corner and he says, "Okay, you guys run down there and run past me, and we're going to run past the camera." And so we run around in the corner, and then from here, maybe 100 yards down to the street, there's the Capitol. And lights flaring and guys with guns. I mean, big guns.
Like real guns.
Real guns. And we run around the corner with the guns, and they're looking at us, and we're looking at them like, "Whoa, what is this?" So we do the only natural thing. We run away, back the other way. And then we're going, "What is that? I don't know. What is it? What's going on?" So pretty soon we have tick, 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 tick. So here's the police officer says, "What's going on?" We're making a movie with guns and everything. And I said, "Well, yeah, we're and he said, "Well, where are you from?" And I said, "Well, I'm from UCLA." And he said, "Well, let's see some ID." So everybody's breaking out. I had my UCLA ID card, so it sort of made sense.
Validated.
So he said, "You guys are going to have to make your movie somewhere else." Oh my gosh. And so we said, "Okay." Packed everything up and left. So we found out later that day that was the day they were moving the California Treasury from the old location to the new place. It was top secret. Nobody was supposed to know, so that nobody could run in and steal their gold or whatever it is.
Which was the premise to your story, right?
Yeah.
They just cooperated.
Only we had, thought that
See how
fast.
much more cooperative California was. And what many of you can't see is my mom is here, and she's got her eyes covered, and thinking of these stories and telling these stories once again is just hysterical. Okay, while we're on stories, because I always think it's so funny, my older brother had come to me one day and had shared with me that he might need to borrow a dress and some high heels. Do you remember this? Nonetheless, he had a friend who was coming, correct? And
to the airport.
To the airport.
Was it in the 70s again?
Yes, it was in the 70s.
Because he get away with a lot more in the 70s.
Platform heels. So he comes in.
Younger people really missed out.
My dad said, "Don't ask." That's what he kept saying. Don't ask. So tell that story, because I love that story. That's one of my all-time favorites.
I always like to show up to the airport right before
dressed as a woman.
Yeah, right before the year started at school. We would go up to Lake Tahoe for a couple of weekends after summer vacation. So I always like to meet them in some way that would surprise them at the airport. So I thought, Steve will really like this.
Steve Behar.
Oh, Steve Behar.
Yeah.
I sure did probably say that.
Sorry,
anyway,
Steve. It's okay.
So I said, let me borrow a dress. I'll dress up like a girl. And so I got Kyle's dress, and then I got a
wig.
Some kind of a wig.
Yeah,
a long
you
wig.
did. Mm-hmm.
I wasn't very good at makeup at that point. So I thought, but I got a dress and a wig. Who's going to know? So it's hard to. I don't know if you. It's hard to. I mean, it's an acquired skill. To walk
Thank you.
I've tried it a few times.
Yeah. So
Good, Tori.
I'm walking, and I'm thinking I'm like Inspector Clouseau. I'm thinking
Yes.
I've got everybody. I've got the parrot on the shoulder. And I get a lot of attention. People are like, pulling their kids back. Just, no.
I look pretty good.
Yeah. So I get all the way up to the top, and in those days there was no security. You just walk up to the gate.
Good for you.
So I might have been an influence in how much security there is now.
I think so.
So I went up and sat at the gate, waiting for the flight to go in, and then another police officer, not the same one, comes up and he says, "Do you have any identification?" And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, you're a man dressed as a woman."
Well ahead of your time, Lance. Well ahead of your time.
You can tell. Wow, that's amazing. So he said, "What are you doing here?" And so I explained the same thing, and he's going, "Okay,
Didn't I see you when we were moving the Treasury?"
He's like, "I'm going to stick around for this."
Well, at that time it was in the summer between college years, and I actually had my real estate license. So he said, "Do you have
Niche
any
marketing?"
Yeah, do you have any? Where do you work?"
I can work with that.
I said, "Oh, I'm a real estate agent. Here's my card.
And here's my broker.
And here's my broker. Call the office. I'll tell you who I am."
Judy Thompson.
Yeah.
She's so proud.
So
proud.
they called and they said, this is Sergeant whatever from Sacramento Metropolitan Airport. Sounds like something he would do.
There are plenty of those.
Did your friend recognize you?
Oh, he didn't. He was walking right by,
This
and
is
then
great.
I walked up and I said, "Hello, sailor." When he goes,
Was it because TSA was much different. So
There was
Lance
no
put
TSA.
down. Did you not put down a purse or something, but collected your purse, and then that's when you said thank you, and they noticed that it was a man's voice, and that's what prompted security.
well, I would have liked to think that, but no, I just was not in a convinced.
Throw you
Thank you for that.
life
No, I
support
was bad.
something.
That was the last time, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Well, since I've got a lot of this history, Tori, maybe you have some questions for Lance, or a question for Lance that would make him feel like, okay, this isn't the same stuff that we've regurgitated God knows how many times, and embarrass my poor mother who's here still.
Who's incidentally reading the book Start With Why, so maybe that's a good...
Maybe a little too late, Mom. No, but I wanted, because, we kind of talk about transformation and change, but, clearly we've kind of gone off topic, so we're all over. Any questions that you have of Lance?
Let's see. So in LA, you did a lot of screenwriting.
Yeah,
But
more
no-
script doctoring. I wrote for a show called Mr. Belvedere, a TV show,
Okay.
briefly with a partner, and that led to some opportunities, and also motion picture advertising, because you start that those campaigns before the movie's finished. So a lot of times there were some things that the movie wasn't fully shot, and so they would say, "Oh, can you ask for a script doctor starting?"
Yeah.
So Lance, have you had people, because I suspect there are a lot of people in their second chapter or the second part of their life that say, I've got a great story to tell. I think I could make it into a film or whatever they think. And they might put together something in the way of, what is that called? Screenplay or whatever. I mean, we're going to give the opportunity for people to get in touch with you, but they could reach out to you and you could say, well, let's just kind of zhuzh this up a little bit, or maybe kind of get an outline of what you're trying to achieve. Do you take them through that extent too? Do you outline the ability to formulate that like you do? That's so easy.
They have a story, you just don't know how to put it together.
Do you do that? Do you do that?
Yeah, we do all that kind of stuff. For people who are first starting out screenwriters, I always say start with something short.
Okay.
Because story structure is always the same. It's first act, second act, third act. No matter how long it is, whether it's a dog food commercial or Shakespeare or Harry Potter or whatever, it's always the same. So if you can master the story structure for a short piece, you just add that's how you master it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So come up with just a great story in your life and try to tell that, and then expand.
Don't get overwhelmed by it. Don't overthink it. Just kind of formulate it. Start it short, and then expand on it, like what you were saying. Did you see how I said the overthinking?
Yeah. You didn't see my eyebrows.
For Tori's benefit, don't overthink it. Just put it down there. But you do that so people can reach out to you, and we'll have contact information for you as it relates to that, which would be really helpful. And also acting, so he's available. Do you have headshots?
I do have headshots.
Not in a dress.
Yeah, no, it's all is. I like what they ask Michael Caine. Well, now that you're older, you don't get the parts. And he said, well, you get different parts at different stages of your career. When you're young, you get younger parts. He said, now if there's a part for an 80-year-old Englishman, I'm perfect. So it's the same thing.
Somebody start writing that story.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. If you're a writer too, write stuff for you to do.
Sure.
And then say.
Yeah, write yourself into the script. I love that. I'm going to start writing.
So I have a question. How long? So you've been in Idaho for how many years?
Since 2007.
Okay, and how long have you been doing the front end of it, the video, acting and stuff?
Well, we started at Post right away, and then a couple years later, I started doing the plays, the theater stuff, and then let's see, I did some TV. Hosted some TV shows that interviewed different people.
Yeah. Academy Award stuff too, right? Like Academy Award wrap-up stuff, you did that.
Yeah, the local ABC affiliate had a Academy Awards panel, and we kind of...
Great job at that.
We didn't do any of it. We didn't talk about the dresses, but we talked about...
They might ask him this year for that, next year.
And then they're going to get a hold of this video.
Yeah, I will send it to you. No problem sending you pictures of me.
With Lance, it is all about Lance.
That's why I'm in the middle. But then we have our film community has really grown, our independent film community, and I know a lot of those people. So I'm going to act in two short films this month, one of which I wrote, and then next month we're going to do a feature, which is really cool.
Character that you're playing still secret, or can you tell people, because we've all thought this all along on the feature?
No, I didn't get that part.
Oh, you didn't get...
No.
Because you didn't lie.
But I did get a part. No, I got the part of the dad who... Well, I don't want to tell you. But anyway, it's called Making Sense, and the idea is it's about people who lack one sense, like sight, sound, smell,
I love
touch.
this. Okay.
And the gimmick is they're getting real people who have those disabilities to play those parts.
Amazing.
Place, where they had an audition workshop. So all these people who have all these different kinds of differences or problems or disabilities, challenges, who have never been in front of an audience before, never acted, always wanted to.
Yeah.
And it's a huge room. There's like 200 people there.
Yeah, and they're sensory sensitive.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
But all sorts of other things like that. The Stephen Hawking thing where
Yes.
these people got up and did lines in front of people, and it was so
powerful.
You just loved being there.
Yeah, and be a part of that.
There wasn't a dry eye in the house.
No.
And it was great. And you could see when they were finished, that was a dream that I've always wanted to do. I got to do it.
And you were part of it, which makes it even, you're watching it happen.
Yeah. And the people who were involved in I was involved in, helping.
That's the short film, Lance?
No, this is the feature.
That's the feature that's coming. That'll be a great feature.
Yeah, I think it's going to get a lot of publicity. And the guy who's behind it is just, that's his lifelong dream was to do a movie like this.
No.
And so he's doing it. And it's just like one of those things too. So.
Because you go make sure that we just
But we can't move to Idaho.
Yes, please understand, no barriers in Idaho, but the barrier is they're building a wall. and
it's easier to build a wall there too.
Yeah, there's no permits.
So let's give our audience a little bit of like a wrap up of the things that you think are most important, especially as it relates to pursuing this now that you've kind of created this. So you moved up there and you're also pursuing a passion that you really didn't even know existed, but you just kind of put your foot in the water and now it kind of heightens something else. So if you had to say top 3 things that you got to keep in mind if you decide, I'm going to do this, I'm going to jump in with everything I've got, what were those 3 things, bits of advice that you would say now looking back in retrospect?
Don't think that there's anything that you can't do.
Don't think so that you can't do.
Commit to it, like you said.
Yeah.
And then there's no third thing.
Launch.
Go. Yeah, those
go. Go.
Yeah, it's just there's you know inside you what you're supposed to be doing, what you want to do. What like I've always wanted to do this. I really think it. Listen to that voice and follow it.
I heard that somebody, Dr. Wayne Dyer, when he was talking about disciplining his children, and he said, you know how they always run to you when there's a problem and there's a skirmish amongst the kids. He said, I never decided how they were going to settle that. I just look at them in the face. I'd hold their little face in my hands and I'd go, you know what's right. Go do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I love that.
That doesn't work with everybody. But,
didn't work with me. No, my mom.
But if a guy like Dr. Wayne Dyer who wears a sweater, and is one of them people you can
Dalai Lama, you really got into it. I just loved it because I thought, you know what? Just like what you said, if you know that's right, then do it. Okay.
Do you think, I got a question, do you think once you've kind of taken that leap and followed that dream, that the next dream you have is just a little bit easier? Or do you think
Yeah.
What is your next dream?
Yeah,
do you have your next dream?
Oh no.
You might be here for a
No,
little
I
while.
want to. I'm doing it. Like people say, what do you really want to do? What is your? I think I'm doing it. I just like to get paid more for it. But I've always wanted all the things I've always wanted to do. I've been able to do.
That's awesome.
You kind of feel like you're living your best life.
Yeah. And and it's maybe I'm on the back 9, but it's okay. And
Might not have been there on the front 9, but it is now
right.
available on the back 9.
I wasn't as funny. Earlier.
He's always been funny. He's always been funny. So what we like to do, since Lance is kind of our first rollout for an interview, is we like to pose some questions. And Kathy, Harry, bless you, you sent me some questions. And so Tori and I are going to ask Lance 4 questions and get his take. Now, he said, just like he wanted to do Facebook Live, he wants to hear these. So they're very spontaneous. God knows what the answer is going to be. My mom's going to probably cover her eyes here and shake her head here in a minute. But Tori, why don't you start?
Okay, first question. Have you read any good books?
I can't read.
Are you writing scripts then?
Got a computer. The one I read most recently that I liked was the Bruce Lee biography by Matthew Polly, and there's a lot of Bruce Lee biographies out. Most of them weren't very good or not scholarly. He interviewed everybody that you ever talked to Bruce Lee, lived in his apartment, picked up trash and whatever. Really, really good, very scholarly. And the great thing was when talks about his childhood and stuff. And his nickname when he was a kid was the Chinese words for "never sit still."
Oh.
He was always, very, very active.
Yes.
And his thing was, he broke a lot of barriers too because he was. Born in Hong Kong, but then moved to the United States in San Francisco, and then grew up in Hong Kong making movies as a kid.
Wow.
But then moved here, and then sort of like he was sort of spoiled and never got to San Francisco, then Seattle, and his dad just said, "You don't come back until you've done something with your life." So he was always liked martial arts, but the thing he knew how to do to make money was he taught cha-cha lessons, cha-cha dancing. And then, made money like that. And then, but it was always working out and doing his martial arts. And then a guy who was another student at the school in Seattle, at the college, he was a black guy. And he said, it's forbidden to teach Asian martial arts to anybody who wasn't Asian.
Wow.
And then this guy was African American, so they said, he said, I'll teach you, but our people don't like you, so we can't do it anywhere public. You will come to my house, or I'll come to your house, and we'll work out there. And that was his first student, and that guy was dedicated to him forever.
Wow.
So he broke barriers that way. He broke barriers in, mixing the different styles. They said, I don't adhere to any style. Anyway, great book if you like Bruce Lee, if you're interested in martial arts. Really well written, and the best I've seen on his life.
We'll make sure that we have that for you on the link after this episode, so make sure that you look for that. Okay, so this one could be a little bit longer. Lance, how would you describe yourself?
Succinctly. What's next?
Thank God. Question 3. And done. When we asked for an intro, Lance said, just say, I need no introduction. This man needs no introduction, my brother Lance Thompson. All right, is that what you want to go with?
Well, I think...
Do you consider what you're doing now your dream job, or what is your dream job?
This is it.
Cha-cha lesson. Cha-cha.
Yeah, if I could learn... My wife would wish I could learn to dance.
He can dance.
But yeah, I get to do everything. I mean, writing scripts, making movies, acting. I can't think of anything I'd like to do more.
Oh, awesome. I love that. I love hearing
your
this.
Dream and your passion.
No kidding.
And then last 2 weeks ago,
I don't know.
I can't remember. One of the weird jobs I have is I'm the stand-in. So they do commercials for all different stuff. And he's a real potato farmer, but he doesn't want to sit around while they're setting up the lighting. So that's what I do. And so, but we did this commercial where he's following the Idaho potato truck. Have you seen the big giant potato truck?
Uh-huh.
So he's always looking for that. And this commercial, he's chasing it, and he doesn't have a car. So this car that is a student driver car pulls up, and he pulls the instructor out and jumps in and says, "Follow that truck." So it's a student driver, but the way we do it is we have a real. The truck is going this way, and the car's pointing that way. So he has to back up. So he's following it backwards at 40 miles an hour down all these country roads and everything. So I got to be in the car with the stuntman. And so the guy's name is Alex
Trebek.
Terzieff, I think it is.
Okay.
Terzieff. But he's worked on Marvel movies and Band of Brothers and all that kind of stuff. So in the car, we're doing all this stuff. We're following with the potato truck, and he knows all these old movies. So I said, "Man, that's a huge potato." And he says, "Well, if that potato falls off, you're gonna have to pick it up." So we're doing all these things from, what's that movie? Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Because he knows all these old things.
Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
And
yes, I love
he
that.
actually grew up. His hometown is within 10 miles of the hometown of Yakima, Washington.
Oh, wow.
Who was the famous stuntman for Stagecoach and all that stuff.
Yes.
So yeah, it was talk about a dream job. Driving backwards at 40 miles an hour and talking about old movies. Wow.
He would have grabbed the wheel if he could. I can tell you.
I didn't do it.
But you can. Okay, so my question to you is, what question do you always want people to ask you about yourself?
Oh, yeah.
You have enough iced tea? Because a lot of times if you're in the restaurant and your iced tea goes down, and then you have to not eat until you get the more iced tea, but then your food's getting cold.
Yes.
But they're asking this question that you like people to ask you.
I want them to say, "Do you have enough?" So that I can say, "No, go get me some more."
I wanted to make sure. Well, that's going to probably wrap us up. But Lance is an extraordinary big brother, brilliant. So I happen to be a very prejudiced sister. But I oftentimes watch people either on TV or read in books, and I think, "Oh my God, Lance, you are so this person." I almost laugh so hard because I think, for those of you who are familiar with Parks and Recreation, for those of you who are familiar, Lance is Ron Swanson. And if you haven't had a chance, Go get that and watch it and see it. And that's Lance through and through. Do you want to take us out as Ron Swanson as we're trying to wrap this all up? And
thank you, Kyle. I'm going to bring this podcast to a close because I want to do something else.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching us. And we really appreciate Lance. More importantly, we appreciate you. Happy one day before my mom's birthday. My mom's birthday is tomorrow, but she's here, and we couldn't have enjoyed this half as much had she not been here. But Tori and I really appreciate you guys watching.
This was fun.
It was tons of fun.
We did it! As we end this episode, we want to take a moment to remind you how you can get in touch with us and get connected.
So you can reach out to me on Facebook, and I am Kyle Thompson. And again, there are many Kyle Thompson men, only one Kyle Thompson woman. So please feel free to reach out to me there. Or on Instagram, I'm 8 Carpe Diem Mama 8.
And I am Tori Barker, or Creative Marketing on Facebook. And on Instagram, I'm toribarker.creativemarketing. And for all of your marketing needs, you can visit my website at creativemarketingbytori.com.
And if you have the need and would love to reach out, I'd love to hear from you as it relates to life and personal coaching, consulting, and speaking. And you can reach me or visit my website at gustoandgo.com.